And we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
For the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. James said something that caught me off guard. Black out the Dina is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So, go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Tavis, Smiley. In case you have not heard, we shared this news in our last hour that the officer in Louisville who was found guilty of violating Breonna Taylor's civil rights as he shot multiple shots indiscriminately through that window, of course killing Breonna Taylor. Brett Hankinson is his name, former Louisville PD, was set to be sentenced next week, facing life in prison for the death, the murder, as far as I'm concerned, of Breonna Taylor. And today, out of nowhere, the Department of Justice, Donald Trump's DOJ, has announced they're asking a federal judge to sentence him to just 1 day in prison. As we said last hour, it's open season on black people. As I also said last hour, for all you black people and all the black people you know who voted for Donald Trump, when is enough enough? It's abundantly clear to me, and ought to be to you, and if it's not, put down the crack pipe, that Donald Trump has it in for black people, no matter what he says. And this is just another example. That black lives do not matter to Donald Trump. That you could, in this brazen sort of way, ask a federal judge to give Mr. Hankinson just 1 day behind bars for violating the civil rights of Breonna Taylor. But that's what the Department of Justice has announced today. The other piece of what makes this day so uniquely special is that it was 5 years ago today that John Lewis, the late great civil rights hero, passed away. And so all across the country today, there are these good trouble protests. These protests are rooted in this notion that our civil rights are being trampled upon even now. Earlier in today's program, I played some sound of John Lewis as the youngest speaker at the March on Washington back in 1963 when he was with SNCC. I played some sound of him at that march. Again, he was the youngest person to get to the podium and had to tone his speech down just a little bit. They were scared of John Lewis, what he really wanted to say, but they worked it through, and he finally got to the podium to deliver his truth. But it was 5 years ago today that we lost John Lewis, and so there are all these good trouble protests all across the nation today, again, protesting that our civil rights are not as cemented as they ought to be. So the irony of these good trouble protests on the day that the news comes out, that they're asking for 1 day behind bars for Mr. Hankinson. This stuff is intentional to me. It's intentional, it's deliberate, it's planned, it's methodical that they would announce this today on the day of the passing 5 years ago of John Lewis. As we were protesting for our civil rights, they would make this announcement. And then today is also the day where the Urban League, at their convention in Cleveland, Mark Moyal, their president, has released their annual State of Black America report. And they have a lot to say about these issues as well. So it's a busy day. And into this busy day steps the Trump administration insulting and offending and demeaning and desecrating, quite frankly, Breonna Taylor, and right along with it, every other black person in this country is being disrespected in the process. And so, again, black lives apparently don't matter to the Trump folk. I want to play some sound, just a real quick here of John Lewis, and then we're going to push toward our guest in this hour. Two guests on the back half of this hour, Stacey and Joaquin Loper, co-stars of the new series Back to the Frontier. We'll tell you all about that. And the often overlooked history of black homesteaders in the American West. That's on the backside of this hour. In a moment, we'll commence a conversation with former FEMA director Michael Brown. Speaking of black people catching hell, it was 20 years ago this summer that Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, and you know the story. Michael Brown was the FEMA director then, and you'll all recall George Bush saying, "You're doing a heck of a job, Brownie." Well, we'll talk to Brownie, as George Bush calls him, in just a few moments here. But before I commence that conversation, here is some sound of John Lewis. Take a listen.
The forces of the civil rights movement help sensitize and educate a nation, even the President of the United States. No president, a governor, could see what was happening and see how people were being treated and continue to look the other way. That was the power of the way of peace, the way of love, the power of the forces of nonviolence, to say to elected officials, to say to the larger American community, we can change. We can help create what Dr. King and Jim Lawson called the beloved community. We can help redeem the soul of America and lift America, lift our country, lift our people to higher heights.
The voice of John Lewis, who passed away 5 years ago today. His legacy is enduring with all these good trouble protests being staged literally from California to the Carolinas, all across our nation. When we come forward, we'll commence a conversation with Michael Brown, former FEMA administrator and now host of the Situation podcast. We'll get his take on these recent flooding disasters, Donald Trump's incoherent vision for the future of FEMA. He says one thing one day, nothing another day, and of course his reflections on Hurricane Katrina 20 years ago this summer. Michael Brown, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard. Not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us, and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis, Smiley, and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war. And we the people of Black Altadena are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there's nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Michael Brown, former FEMA administrator and now host of the podcast, The Situation, which is also a website, situation.us. Mr. Brown, good to have you on the program, sir. It's been a while since I talked to you last. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Tavis? You sound wonderful.
Well, so do you. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing well, and again, thank you for these few minutes that we have. Let me just jump in and make the most of our time. There are 20 states maybe and counting, suing Donald Trump and this administration over ending FEMA funding for disaster mitigation. Trump has been sort of schizophrenic, as he is on any number of political and social and economic issues all over the place. What's your read of the way that Donald Trump views FEMA?
I think he looks at FEMA and realizes that it's got to be fixed. There's no question about that. So you start with the premise that there are a lot of things that need to be changed. I think that, Trump being Trump, he says one thing one day and one thing the next day because he hasn't gotten a report or anything from the commission that's looking at it. So I kind of expect a guy like him to be all over the place. But the bottom line is there are a lot of things about FEMA that if I had the magic wand, there are a lot of things about FEMA that I would change that I think would make response a lot stronger in states, which is really, when you dial 911, you don't reach Washington, D.C., you reach your local community, and that's where a disaster response has got to start.
We've seen all kinds of stories about this, and you're reading the same stuff I'm reading, Michael Brown, all kinds of stories about the calls that went into FEMA after these floods in Texas, calls that were not answered, calls that were not returned. Are they asleep at the wheel? Did Donald Trump fire everybody? But people are concerned, as they should be, and upset. Now, I suspect there may be some lawsuits, as I mentioned a moment ago, about FEMA just not being there when everyday people called the hotline.
And they should be upset. I mean, you and I get upset. Imagine you and I are sitting right now, both in our studios. We're comfortable. We're air conditioned. Everything's fine. But imagine you've lost your home, you've lost your family, you've lost, whatever it is in a disaster. And the one number you call is the same as calling 911 and saying, could you hold, please? Well, no, actually, I can't hold. And it'd be nice if somebody answered. So I'm not surprised people are upset, and people should be upset. And I think that's another example of how we need to push this down to the states, where the states are going to be much more reactive and much more responsive, I think, to their citizens, as opposed to this behemoth that, from where I'm sitting, is almost 1,800 miles away.
Is that one of the things that you were intimating or suggesting a moment ago that you would change if you had a magic wand about the way FEMA works?
Absolutely, because the more that we depend upon the federal government for almost everything, the less effective state government becomes. And I think the closer we can have the response, the recovery, mitigation, all of the cycles of disaster closer to the people where it actually happens, I think it's going to be so much more effective.
But aren't there, the structure of FEMA obviously far better than I do, but aren't there regional offices that actually do that? I mean, we're talking as if FEMA is headquartered in Washington and they don't have regional offices throughout the country through which they work. So tell me more about how the structure of FEMA actually does work.
Well, so let's talk about because there are 10 FEMA regions. One region is actually located here in Denver, where I am.
Right.
And then there's, one in Texas I think that's FEMA Region 6, I think. But every region is just a very small staff subset. So if I have, and I'm just going to pull these numbers out of thin air, but let's say I have 100 people in D.C. that work on response. Well, in each of the regions, I might only have one or two. So the regions themselves are already just there to do kind of day-to-day work, not to really respond to a disaster. When a disaster actually occurs, that all immediately goes national. And I want to push that down, and I want to push it down to the states. I'll give you an example. We have individual assistance programs, which is basically helping people financially. We don't make them whole. I want to emphasize that. But we help them kind of get restarted. So there might be some temporary housing. There might be some money for temporary assistance for some clothing or some cookware or something. Well, I want all of that money pushed down to the states and let them administer that, because the states are going to be much more efficient, much more effective, and a lot quicker than someone that's responding from Washington, D.C.
And if I said to you, Michael Brown, former FEMA administrator, that on a certain level, it maybe doesn't matter so much whether they're centralized in Washington or whether, to your point, it's pushed down to the states, because these disasters that we are experiencing, even as many on the right, political right, deny the science, these disasters are real. This recent flooding is real. These hurricanes and tornadoes are real. You were the FEMA administrator, but these cycles are coming faster, coming more swiftly than they ever have. Again, even if people deny the science, so whether it's at the federal level or regional or local level, at the state level, the question is whether or not we are, in this FEMA structure, whatever it looks like, prepared to deal with all the climate catastrophes that are going to be hitting us exponentially in the months and years to come.
And the answer to that, Tavis, is no, it is not. And let's use the Texas floods as an example. Who understands that floodplain and that area around San Antonio, Kerr County, all of that area? Who understands and knows that better than the people in Texas? The people that work in an office on 500 C Street, Southwest Washington, D.C., do not know it nearly as well and cannot know it nearly as well as the people that live in that state. And that's why I want to push as much as I can, as I could convince the president to push that down to those state levels.
I take your point. The people in Texas know it best, but that still didn't stop this from happening. All these precious babies that were sacrificed. I mean, that's my word. These precious babies were sacrificed. They're still looking for missing people. So in Texas, they understand it, but it didn't stop them from trying to get an emergency warning system that they couldn't get. It didn't stop these floods from happening. It didn't stop them from forcing this camp to relocate. I mean, they know the terrain better, and yet it didn't stop anything, Michael.
But Tavis, let's think about the warnings themselves. You and I could debate whether there were actual warnings or whether that camp was set up to receive those warnings, and quite frankly, I don't think that it was. But the National Weather Service and NOAA all issued warnings, but those warnings were not heeded, and the camp was not set up to respond to those warnings. And I think that's the responsibility of the people who govern, license, and know that area, as opposed to a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C.
How much more difficult, no naivete in asking this question, but given what we're talking about now, the increasing nature of all these climate maladies and catastrophes we're going to be having to wrestle with, how much more difficult and challenging, not that it's easy to begin with, do you expect the work of FEMA to become in the years to come, no matter what the structure is?
Oh, regardless of the structure, it's going to be more difficult simply because as this country becomes, we build more infrastructure, we build more homes, cities become larger and larger and larger. And as we become more complicated, dependent upon, think about how you and I are doing this right now electronically. We couldn't have done this, 20 years ago. So we become so much more dependent upon cell towers and Wi-Fi and everything else for communications. And so as disasters occur, that means that comms, communications, which is the most important aspect of a response, is going to become even more difficult. And we've got to strengthen that infrastructure. But now we're beginning to walk over to the edge of what's a FEMA responsibility versus what is a combined responsibility of both state, federal, and local government and the private sector.
I don't want to skirt this, and I don't mean to make you political, but you are political because you were the former FEMA administrator, and you do your own podcast, so you know you can handle this. I ain't feeling sorry for Michael Brown; he can handle himself. But I do want to ask you a point blank and direct question. You were FEMA director, FEMA administrator, that is, under George W. Bush. It's gotten so much worse since that time, and by worse, I don't just mean these climate catastrophes that we're experiencing routinely, but it's gotten worse with regard to people on the political right, more so than the left, of course, denying the science. It is fascinating to me that the data, at least to me, the data is incontrovertible. You see it every day. We feel it. People don't have to be rocket scientists. They don't have to be experts. They don't have to work at the National Weather Service to know what they feel, to know what they see, to know what they're experiencing wherever they live between California and the Carolinas. Why politically do folk on the right continue to deny the science, and how do you read that?
Well, I'm one that does believe in climate change. I think that climate changes, it always has and it always will, whether it's anthropogenic, caused by man, or it's caused otherwise. I happen to believe that it's caused otherwise. But here's part of that formula that I think both sides ignore, and that is whether, when you have a tornado that 20 years ago, let's say, went through the Oklahoma Panhandle where I grew up. Well, that tornado was more likely than not to miss the little town that I grew up in. But since I've been out of that town for, 50 years or more, buildings have been put up, industry has moved in, it has gotten larger, there's more infrastructure. So when that same tornado passes through the exact same path, the damages that it causes in 2025, say, versus 1965 is going to be magnitudes larger because we as a society have so much more infrastructure and property that is now subject to, whether it's a tornado, a flood, a hurricane, whatever. That's where the damage numbers are increasing exponentially.
I want to make sure I heard you correctly and that the audience heard you correctly. Did you suggest a moment ago that you don't think any of what we're dealing with is in fact man-made?
Oh, I think some of it is, but yeah. I think compared to what occurs naturally, it is, and infinitesimal is probably not the right word, but if I were to put a ratio on it, I would say it's about 90% natural and 10% man-made.
Wow. I wish I had time to debate you on that because I think you're wrong about that, Michael Brown. You are the former FEMA director, and I'm just a talk show host. But everything I read and everything I study and all the work I have done and continue to do on these climate issues suggests to me that number of 90-10 is not a fair split. I won't debate you on that right now. The audience heard your take. They know my take, and I'll leave it there for now. But that 10% seems awfully low based on the data that we read every day about the damage that we're causing, Michael.
Well, but remember, it's really difficult to differentiate between when we just say damage, the damage that's being caused by storms that are occurring today. We had a flood in Colorado way back in I think 1996 or something. We had a flood in that exact same area in 2013. The damage was probably 100 times greater than it was in the 90s. And you know why? Because the Denver metropolitan area has grown so much that what were once wheat fields or just cattle ranches are now towns. They're cities. So when that same flood went through, the damage was astronomically larger. The dollar amount was so much larger because we have grown so much. We have urbanized so much. And so we've got to learn, and you and I can have this debate all day long, but when I look at the data, I look at, oh yeah, we've had these storms before. Do you know that the floods that occurred in Texas, that you can go back to the 1800s since we started keeping records, and those floods have occurred in that exact same area almost every 10 years.
All I'll tell you is this. Again, we ain't got time to debate it today, maybe another day. The fish and the fauna are not drinking from plastic bottles. They're not eating out of plastic. That's not what they do. And every time we drain these oceans and we see the damage that's being done by the pollution of these oceans, that ain't the fish and the fauna doing that, Michael. That's us.
I don't question that at all, Tavis. Right. I'm just saying that we need to learn to differentiate between the damage numbers we see today, or, for example, the idea that what happened in Texas is novel and new. What happened in Texas is not novel and new. What is different is we have 24/7 news coverage. We had, unfortunately, children that were killed in those floods, and so that attracts a lot of news media attention. And then we ignore the fact that the very people who ran the camps, for whatever reason, did not pay attention to the warnings that were given.
Yeah. But the frequency, your argument, I guess, is that even though we see the frequency of these disasters increasing exponentially, your argument is that that's just all natural. The increase in the frequency is just natural?
Yes, there's a natural wave that occurs where you have an increased frequency and then it will drop off. I've witnessed that in Colorado. I've been in Colorado now for almost 35 years. And what we're going through now, which is going to be a fairly active monsoon season, I didn't see except for maybe 10 years ago. Yeah. And now we're back in that cycle again.
Michael, you got 2 more minutes for me? Can you stand by for 2 more minutes?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm out of time here, and I certainly don't. And this conversation got so fascinating. I know it's going to take so long talking about this.
It always does.
Yeah, it does. But I do want to take your temperature on Hurricane Katrina 20 years later. If you can stick through this next segment for me, I can just get you just for 2 or 3 minutes to talk about that, and I'll let you go. Michael Brown, former FEMA administrator, when we come forward, we'll get his take on Hurricane Katrina. He was the man in charge then, 20 years ago this summer, and then we'll push to our final guest today. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. Forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The National Urban League released its annual State of Black America report today, which included commentary from Mark Morial, the league's president and CEO. He says Black America is in a state of emergency.
We must not allow hate, fear, or division to define us. We were made for this moment, and indeed we will meet it together.
The report was released during the league's conference in Cleveland, Ohio. Thousands are rallying nationwide in Good Trouble Lives On protests honoring civil rights icon John Lewis. The demonstrations, echoing his call for nonviolent action, are pushing back against the Trump administration. And a Black Chicago mother is suing CPS, claiming her daughter faced racist bullying at Wildwood IB School. Sharon Hinton says the abuse began when her daughter was 10, leading to suicidal thoughts. The family is demanding systemic change and compensation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Is this the takeover? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers are the first NFL team to open training camp. The Chargers are scheduled to conduct full workouts today in El Segundo. First day of training camp for the Rams is Tuesday, July 22nd at Loyola Marymount. Hall of Fame basketball player Oscar Robertson was given the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage last night at the ESPYs, the sports world's version of the Academy Awards. LA native Russell Westbrook presented the award to Robertson. Robertson, now 86, was the first black president of a sports labor union. The 12-time NBA All-Star was president of the NBA Players Association when the players won an antitrust lawsuit against the league in 1970. The victory led to free agency and higher salaries. The average salary for an NBA player today is $11.1 million. The league minimum is $1.1 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit FVGradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in,
but we're okay with that.
You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Just a couple more quick minutes here with the former FEMA director, Michael Brown. Michael Brown was FEMA director when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans 20 years ago this summer. We were having a spirited conversation here, Michael, in our studio with my team, and just running. We're not even climate experts, but just running the list of all the things that we think we're doing that we think makes your 90-10 number suspect. With all due respect, we're thinking of all the gases that we're putting into the ozone. We're thinking of all the oil spills. We're thinking of all the pollution, all the waste that we dump, et cetera, et cetera. And for you to put that number at 90-10 just doesn't seem legitimate. I'll give you one more response on that before I go to Katrina.
We'll debate this all day long.
Yeah.
Because my data shows that the frequency of the storms and the severity of the storms is not increasing. The damage, however, from the storms is increasing, but not because of the storms, but because of the areas that they are affecting, because of our growth in infrastructure, businesses, homes, everything that you can possibly imagine.
I will say this. We have gone from Bill Clinton making FEMA a cabinet level position for the first time in American history. James Lee Witt served in that position for 8 years. We've gone from Bill Clinton making it a cabinet level position and to Donald Trump talking about doing away with it. That's where we are. We're going down a rabbit hole in this country in so many ways. One president makes it a cabinet level position to his credit. Another president's talking about ending it. Don't get me started. All right, I got a few minutes left with Michael Brown. I want to close with your thoughts on Katrina 20 years later. You and I have done this before. You know my feelings about it. I was very disappointed in President Bush, very disappointed in my friend Condoleezza Rice, who was shopping in New York while folk were on rooftops in New Orleans. I still am feeling some sort of way about the way these people were maltreated in New Orleans 20 years later, but I wasn't the FEMA director. You were. I think about Robert McNamara, who was the defense secretary during the Vietnam War. It took Robert McNamara a long time, but to his credit, before he died, he wrote that book, his memoir, and he acknowledged that Vietnam was a horrible mistake, even though he was the defense secretary. Have you had any thoughts, any second thoughts, any other thoughts in the 20 years since Hurricane Katrina about what could have been done, should have been done better?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, speaking of Bob McNamara, I also wrote a book in which I talked about the things that I did wrong, and I talked about the things that went wrong at the state and federal level, and quite frankly at the local level too, and put all that in a book titled Deadly Indifference, which obviously is available wherever books are sold. And I think that what we learned in Katrina is we don't pay attention to all of the things that go on before the disaster occurs that would mitigate the effects of a disaster. For example, we ignored the corruption in the levee boards that managed those levees built by the federal government. The federal government didn't conduct the kind of oversight that they should. And then we had, at the local level, we had emergency managers that were actually under federal indictment for corruption, and we weren't paying any attention to any of that. So when the proverbial feces hit the fan in New Orleans, at all levels, they were unprepared. In addition to having, which there's a March 3rd, 2003 memo that I sent to then Secretary of Homeland Security Tom Ridge that said, if DHS continues down this path of eviscerating FEMA and its abilities to respond, then President Bush is going to suffer the same consequences that his father did in Hurricane Andrew. And that memo, unfortunately, just fell on deaf ears, and we got Hurricane Katrina.
20 years later, whenever you hear that phrase, you're doing a heck of a job, Brownie. How does it land on you?
The same as it always has. I completely relive the moment because the story behind that particular moment is I had been trying to explain to the president what was not working and what I needed when we got interrupted and pulled out for that photo op. And if you watch that photo op closely, you'll see me wince when he does that because I'm just like, holy cow, Mr. President. If you'd just given me 15 more minutes, I could have explained to you exactly what was going on the ground.
Yeah. Michael Brown was FEMA administrator during the George W. Bush years and was at the helm when Katrina hit New Orleans 20 years ago this summer. To his credit, he did write a book. I had him on when that book came out to talk about his own assessment of what could have been done and should have been done better, and I appreciate his candor in that regard. Michael Brown, good to have you on, my friend. All the best to you, sir.
Always a pleasure, Tavis.
Always
a pleasure.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. Okay, now our last guest of this day. What a powerful show it's been. Thank you for tuning into all 3 hours. We are at the last conversation now. In a moment, we'll be joined by Stacey and Joaquin Loper, co-stars of the new series Back to the Frontier on the Magnolia Network and streaming on Max. They will take us inside their family's 1880s world of no phones, no makeup, no running water. I think the show offers a chance for the Loper family, as I see it, to reconnect, challenge themselves, and sheds light on the often overlooked history of black homesteaders in the American West. Take a listen to the trailer for Back to the Frontier.
Going back to the frontier is going to be life-changing for all of us.
We want to go backward so that we can go forward in the right direction.
Makeup and jewelry removal there, please. Lip gloss at least, right? Everything must go.
No. I want my kids to learn humility and hard work.
All of your tech in here, please.
Are you guys ready to get rid of these devices?
No.
No?
I'm at a loss for words that I have to give up all of this to go back to the frontier.
Welcome to your frontier.
Oh my God.
This is really it. This is all we have.
There's only 2 beds. I'm not sharing a bed.
Why are we complaining about this?
I didn't anticipate it would be this difficult just to find 3 vegetables for dinner tonight.
We sit on that?
It's the 1800s.
This house, the living situation, it's just hard.
This is what you have to do to survive.
Whatever it takes.
1 out of 3 families fail when they're on the homestead, so we need to work together.
I don't miss my phone at all.
This type of time out with my boys, invaluable.
There are forever lasting memories in my childhood, and I hope this is one of those memories for you.
This is what the frontier is all about.
Wait till we go home and tell Mom all about our day.
Yeah.
Joaquin Loper, good to have you on the program. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thank you for having us on, Mr. Smiley.
My pleasure. Stacey, how are you today?
I am wonderful. Thanks for asking.
Good. Glad to have you both on. Joaquin, tell me right quick how this show came to be in the first place. I'm always fascinated by the backstory of how these things come to the fore.
Actually, the project came across my wife's desk, and she brought it to me.
You stand down, Joaquin. I asked the wrong question then. Joaquin, you stand down. Stacey, Stacey, you tell me, since it came to your desk, how did this show come to be, Stacey Loper?
Well, I was questionable about it because I was like, going back in time to the 1880s, I'm not sure if I want to do that. But I know my husband is all about family. He's all about, setting up this false sense of struggle for our kids so that they can understand like his stories of how he came up on a farm and how he struggled and how he worked hard. So I took it to him and I said, is this something you think you want to do as a family? And he was like, yeah, I think it would show our boys some appreciation and some humility, as if they don't already have any. But I said, okay, there we go.
Yeah. Joaquin, what made you, when Stacey brought the idea to you after it came across her desk, what made you decide to go all in?
Just looking at the way we've been blessed and God has blessed our lives, our boys really have no sense of what the world can really do to them, how it can be so cruel. And what it means is really just, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They don't understand that. So I thought it was an opportunity for them. Little did I know it was really going to bless our family to the core.
So there you have the backstory for how the show came to be. When we come forward, I'll ask Stacey and Joaquin Loper to take us inside the show and tell you what the show is all about. It's called Back to the Frontier, and we'll get back to this conversation when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Yeah. At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
I see all these like little cute cabins and cottages on Instagram.
Welcome to your frontier.
Oh my gosh, this is home. And I'm hoping to walk into something like that.
All right.
Oh, baby, where are my walls?
Is this it?
I'm like, we ain't got no front wall. How am I gonna be able to sleep with that?
Yeah, we got some work to do.
We gotta do all this.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Wow.
If we're back in the 21st century, this is the worst Airbnb I've ever been to.
The worst. That was hilarious. Okay, Joaquin, from your perspective, tell me about the show. Well, I'll ask Stacey the same question.
Oh, Mrs. Smiley, where do I start? The show was revealing. It was evolving for us as a family. Just going to the very end, the show was everything that I did not expect it to be. It was everything I did not expect it to be. It was tough on us mentally, spiritually, and physically, but it brought us together closer than I ever thought it would ever do. That wasn't the reason we went there, but it was one of the biggest reasons that we came away with.
This experiment was over 8 weeks, correct? Was it 8 weeks?
That's correct.
Yeah. When you said earlier, Joaquin, that it brought the family closer, tell me about that part.
Ms. Smiley, we are a very close family already. However, we are consumed in this 21st century of technology. Going back to the frontier gave us an opportunity to break through the noise, just get away from the noise, and really just hear one another. I heard my wife in ways she had been wishing for in years. I was truly confronted with having to hear my boys instead of just listen to them. And really hear their heart and really see that I was a helicopter parent and never realized it. And everything we were putting in them as parents, at times, many times, I wasn't giving them the opportunity to showcase what we were putting in them. So it really just gave me an opportunity to grow as a father, as a husband, the whole family to grow.
Stacey, in your own words, tell me about the gift of simplicity. That's what Joaquin's really saying, that the simplicity was a gift to your family. Tell me about that gift as you unwrapped it, Stacey.
I mean, we all see gifts as different, right, Tavis? It could be a gift to Joaquin, and it can be, my worst nightmare. I will say this. It was a gift to our family because for me, the show was a cultural shock, but it was also a history lesson in where I come from and truly learning about what the people who came before me, the pathway that they've already paved. We think that we're coming up in a world where we're paving this way for people coming behind us. And yes, we are, but we are leaving footprints along that pathway that is already there for us. And that's what this experience truly taught me. There is no way I could have lived as an 1880s mom or wife or woman then, because in the 1880s, that's all I was a mom, a wife, and a woman who had no rights, who could barely speak and my voice be heard back then. And that's difficult.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Yeah, that's extremely difficult for me not to be heard,
I can only imagine. I am curious. curious, and when we come forward, I want to ask both of them this question. And Stacey's on this right now, on this line of thoughts. I want to continue this notion of the level of appreciation. I talked about the gift of simplicity. At least it was for Joaquin. Stacey said maybe not so much for me, and I ain't mad at her. But I am curious as to the level of appreciation they now have for these black homesteaders in the American West. You heard Stacey say, I couldn't have done it. I don't think I could have done it in the 1880s. Well, you could have, Stacey, if you'd been in the 1880s, you'd have no choice but to step up. But I take your point about the ways in which now you have a different level of appreciation for those persons, as I said the other day on this program, who planted trees that we now sit in the shade of. We didn't plant these trees. We just sit in the shade of it. And so it is a shout out to all those ancestors who made this moment possible for all of us listening right about now, including those black homesteaders out here in the American West, where I sit in L.A. right now. We'll talk about that part in our remaining moments with Stacey and Joaquin Loper as we celebrate their show, Back to the Frontier, on Magnolia and streaming on Max. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
All right.
Right.
Whew, we're in this thing.
Yeah, we're here.
So look at this meal. This is what an 1880 family would eat and be happy for it. This is not pizza. This ain't DoorDash. This is what we have to make do with. All right, so I want y'all to be appreciative and be thankful, okay?
All right.
All right.
Before I came to the Frontier, if I would have seen that menu, I'd have been like, you know what, y'all can have that. I'm like, absolutely not.
How are the beans tasting, buddy?
Good. I think the food's like really good.
Okay.
Do you want some more beans?
No, I don't think I want any more beans.
You know what I need right now?
What?
A microwave. Right. That'll make all this better.
The ham is good though.
It's good. It's cold. My wife is struggling with having to feed the kids canned meat, and I'm struggling with trying to be strong to eat the canned meat.
That's the Lopers at the dinner table. I just got 2.5, 3 minutes left here. Stacey, I want to come to you first. Talk to me about ancestor appreciation. We heard you talking about what you could not have done in the 1880s, but how does this help you tap into a greater appreciation for those black homesteaders out west?
I mean, when we talk about the work that they put in and the titles that they could only hold, I tell you this, Tavis, I felt the richest that I have ever felt when I was back in the 1880s. Because I understand that it's about heart, head, and hands. When we talk about our ancestors and that pathway that they paved for us and how they have established us as women, it takes me to a place where it's like I need to now step up and be the best mom, the best wife, the best woman, the best friend that I can be here in the 21st century so that I can allow their legacy to live out.
Joaquin, speaking of mothers, how did your mother, in retrospect, I saw her in those episodes, how did she process the experience, and how did the boys process the experience?
Oh man, my mother, it was like a flashback. She went right back to her childhood, and I promise you, Tally, if she could have lived there and stayed there, she would have. It was amazing to see the knowledge at 73 years old that she still retains, that she can still teach. I think one of the coolest moments was watching her in the garden with my boys and just remembering how she taught me the same things she was teaching them. And for them to have that opportunity and this experience, it was priceless. My boys, the way they stepped up and showed their resilience, I could not have been happier as a parent.
It's called Back to the Frontier, produced by Magnolia Network, streaming on Max. It was an 8-week experiment. Thankfully, Stacey, Joaquin, and the boys survived it enough to come on this program and talk about it. But you can check it out again on Magnolia Network or check it out streaming on Max and see for yourself what happens when some modern-day black people get stuck back in the 1880s with all the lack of creature comforts that we've become used to in our real lives. But you heard Stacey and Joaquin suggest that it brought their family together, a great experience that they do not regret. And I don't regret having them on this program to talk about it. Stacey and Joaquin, congratulations. Good to have you on. All the best to your family. Give my love to the boys and your mother.
Mr. Valley, thank you so much, and we will do.
Thank you, Tavis.
My pleasure. I got to get Joaquin to call me Tavis next time he comes on. All that Mr. Smiley nonsense. But I thank you. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Tomorrow's Friday, so tomorrow's the best of Tavis, Smiley. We got a tough choice, Miles. Faraji, so many great conversations this week to choose from.